Welcome to Martini Time. Beautiful day here in Blackstone, Virginia, the center of the world, but then you too are the center of the world. So, I titled this talk this evening, The Compassion of Quan Yin. Now, who is Quan Yin? So, I rearranged my artifact shelf here. As you see, this actually is a huge yin-yang upon which I put all of my little artifacts from my life, my spiritual journey, and my props for my talk. And so I had one that was I had a statue of Quan Yin upstairs that I had in my meditation room, and I thought, I'm going to bring her downstairs and let her be seen. So I live in Southside, Virginia, which is a conservative Christian place, and people come in here and see Shiva and laughing Zen Buddha, and of course there's Jesus hanging on the cross, and here's another cross there, and then I got my teddy bear with the hat Muktananda gave me on it. But then let me show you Quan Yin. So I'll just tip this here and right down there. There she is. As you can see, she's seated, and she's seated on the script of the Heart Sutra of Zen. And here she is in another form here. And oh, look, here she is here in the form of Mary. She's the goddess she is the Bodhisattva of Compassion. And she takes different forms. She started out, let me come back up now. She started out in ancient India as Shiva. And then in Buddhism, she became Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of Compassion. And then when Buddhism moved to China, the Chinese were not so metaphysical. They didn't like all these 1,000 arms and all these different arms there. So they made their gods like humans, looked like humans. So now Avalokiteshvara from the Hindu Buddhism, with arms, thousands of arms and all of this, stayed the same in Tibetan Buddhism. But I went to China, she took a human form. See, it looks like a lady. So let me tell you the story of Quan Yin, because she is very popular in China. Now, I had a friend of mine who, excuse me a minute. I have a friend of mine some years ago who went to China to teach, and during her off months, she went to the Shangri-La, which was a huge temple on the edge of Tibet. And she stayed there for a few days, and she found this jade Buddha in the dirt behind an outhouse. And you see a little carving in there. I thought it was a Buddha. I took it to an import place. She says, "Oh no, that's Quan Yin." So Quan Yin found me. Who is Quan Yin? So I began to look into Quan Yin, and I found out that in Zen, in the Heart Sutra is spoken by Avalokiteshvara. And Avalokiteshvara is Quan Yin, the Bodhisattva of Compassion. So what does that mean? I thought. Well, then I became very interested. So I went to YouTube, and I found a chant of the Heart Sutra. And this Heart Sutra, there's a lot of chants on YouTube, and the Heart Sutra by Mo Lee, I think, something like that. And I began to play it. And when I heard that for the first time, this was an amazing experience. My heart was like Avalokiteshvara, like Quan Yin, had my heart and began to squeeze it like that, literally, not like idea. I mean, my heart was squeezing joy and sorrow. You know, tears are the same, whether you're happy or sad. Well, the compassionate heart is both sorrowful and joyous. Sorrow and joy mixed together like a martini, you see. You mix a little bit of gin, dry martini is a little bit of vermouth and a couple of shots of gin. So, they mix together. You can't take them apart. But it makes a delicious drink. Well, compassion is the elixir of joy and sorrow put together in a living heart that squeezes the sorrow for mankind and the joy of liberation. They are together, you see. And this, I'm telling you, when my heart squeezed like that, it kept on going through the whole chant. And it was kind of like, oh, stop, oh, don't stop. Oh, stop, oh, don't stop. Oh, stop, oh, don't stop. And it happened 2 or 3 times later than that, during that period. We go through stages, you know. And a man came to the house his wife had just committed suicide. And he was so... and he was wanting me to print pictures of her because he felt so guilty because she had Alzheimer's and she'd killed herself. But he felt like he had never really, he was a military man, and he felt like he had never really let go, you see, to be with her, you know. And so he's so guilty, felt it was, you know, anyway. And I remember the squeezing compassionate heart, after he left, it began to squeeze. Boom, 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 like that. And I did it with one other person. It hasn't come back since. But anyway, I share this with you because as I look back on experiences like this, my metaphorical mind begins to use these experiences for my understanding. So I've been working with metaphor, the meaning of metaphor, and what the meaning of compassion. You see, you have the love is usually joy, joyous. Compassion is sorrowful. Compassion is love for the sorrow of man, the sorrow of a friend, of a dog, of anything. But it's not love from a separation. In compassion, you are the pain of the other. It's not like I feel your pain. That's not it. Compassion is I am your pain. But here's the joy, that if you give up your separateness and feel the pain of the other, you also feel the joy of your death of separation. See, in Buddhism, when Buddha talks about suffering, and he says, I just teach suffering and the cessation of suffering. Suffering is caused by separation. The one, which is you and me and the world, me and God, is divided into two. And we experience the world like that. I experience this and that. Well, there's a two there. I experience that. That's two. But when you are the experience, you're one. Usually we know that usually when we are lost in joy, like in the dance. And you're not looking at your watch while you dance. You're just the dance. Or you're lost in some creative activity. Oh, time went by. What time is it? You were not in time. You were one with what you were doing. So when somebody's in pain and you're one with that pain, that is compassion. And it's the squeezing together of joy and sorrow, you see, because you feel the sorrow of the other, the pain of life, and also you feel the joy of being liberated from being separate from life. It's very paradoxical. It's a mystery. It's a mystery, you see. But it only happens through surrender, not through the crossed arms, not through, oh, I feel your pain. That's not compassion. So compassion is a death. In order to feel compassion, you have to die to your separate sense of self. And that dying is joyous, because you're no longer suffering separation, you see? It's very ironic. It's ironic, you see. It's the dance of Zorba. It's the laughter. It's the laughter of the liberated Buddha monk. This is a Chinese monk, by the way. Little fat Buddha called Hote. He's the traveling little fat Buddha that travels, you see. He's always laughing. He's always laughing, you see. So anyway, I close this talk, and I brought Quan Yin down here to share with you. And thank you for dropping in.